pop skill, water high and sound, named by a poet, imitation of life. Like a koi in a frozen pond, like a goldfish in a bowl. I don't want to hear you cry. Since bread came sliced, you've got it all, you've got it sized. Like a Friday fashion show teenager freezing in the corner, trying to look like you don't try. This lemonade, this hurricane, I'm not afraid. Come on, no one can see me cry. This lightning storm, this tidal wave, this avalanche, I'm not afraid. Come on, no one can see me cry. Who you are, that's what you could. Come on, no one can see you cry. That sugar cane, that tasted good, that's who you are, that's what you could. Come on, no one can see you cry. Must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world, we are the children, we are the one to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. Oh, the choice we're making, we're saving our lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. When you're down and out, and that's it for it all. But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. Oh, well, let's realize, oh, that a change can only come when we stand together as one.
All right. That goes on for a good 5 more minutes, so I got to cut it out. So you're going to see that'll come into play later today. Yeah, and I don't know, that song gets stuck in your head, and I don't know. How many of you have never heard that song before? Oh, man, okay, so it's just like generational. All right, that's my era. Like, I know every single person that sings on that, Actually, there's a couple I'm like, wait, what's that person's name again? Because it's been so many years, but I saw a good clip from a comedian, I don't know who it was, and they were talking about how boomers hate millennials, and then Gen X is just, I'm Gen X, so we're just in between there, just sort of watching them both, boomers think millennials are idiots, and millennials and you guys think boomers are idiots. And we Gen X are like, you're both right. And then he talks about Michael Jackson. He said there's, the boomers had, Jackson 5 Michael Jackson. Yeah, great, he was talented, he was good. Gen X, we had, Thriller Michael, arguably not arguably, undeniably the best Michael Jackson. And then you all had documentary Michael Jackson, undisputedly the worst Michael Jackson. So anyway, there's a Netflix special about the making of this song, and it's if you're into the '80s. If 80s music appeals to you, go watch that. Something like The Greatest Night in Music or something like that, Greatest Night in Pop Music or a name like that. And then, I don't know, S&P wise, this REM video just, appeals to me. And I just learned this yesterday. I did not ever notice that this was just, that song was just a 20-second loop that they just pieced together into a whole video, okay? So very clever. I thought it was, I've seen it a few times. That just went over my head that it was a loop, okay? So anyway, fun stuff. All right, I got to pick up the pace because I just noticed before coming over to class today that I'm officially behind. So, all right, we're in week 7 already. Holy shit, how did that happen? Okay, so we're going to give this presence survey another go here today. So there's a little change to it. Instead of you typing in your name now, there's a pull-down menu that you'll select your name from, and then the rest is self-explanatory. So somebody on Friday told me that they, I asked if anybody was just having the form, it says loading the form and the thing spins and it never opens. Christian, you said you turned off your internet your wireless antenna or whatever for a moment and turned it back on, and that did it?
Just use cellular internet, not the Wi-Fi.
You turned off the Wi-Fi and turned it back on, yeah. So give that a try. Is anybody just getting that? Is it just spinning and not loading? Anybody? Raise your hand. Okay, maybe I only see one hand, so I don't know, maybe give that a whirl. How about those of you that were here on Friday, did it ask you to log in again? I got a feeling like yes, no, I think once you've logged, on Friday it asked you to log in with your UC credentials, right? Because the survey is in Microsoft Forms, and I do have it set to limit it to people with a UC account. Okay, so it should have asked you, it probably asks you the first time you do it to log in with your UC credentials. And then I think after that, it will remember that or something and take you right to the form. Hey, did that work yet? Is it still, oh, fuck, okay. I don't know what else to, you're doing it on a laptop, huh? Yeah, I don't know. If you got a phone, maybe try it on your phone. Okay, all right. Maybe if you have time after class, maybe rip down here and I'll make sure, make sure you get credit for being here. Yeah.
I see on the campus there's like a presence survey. Are we supposed to do that as well? It says like due today at 1:15 first.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I got the time set to, I can't see what you're showing me, but.
Are we supposed to do that too? It's all on campus.
It's all on what?
It's on campus.
It's on
like
campus.
the presence survey.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, it's on your page.
No shit. Is it always there? Just today?
Just today, yeah. It says
I gotta see this. I don't even know what. You mind showing me?
yeah. It just says like a present survey, and there's like a 2-question quiz.
Okay, try it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe it just takes you to the form. Take the survey. Access code. I haven't a clue what this is.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if I had to do it.
So safely ignore that. But are you getting to the other one?
Yeah, I got the other one. I was
Okay.
wondering about this
Is anyone else getting that weirdness? And never before, just today was the first time. Weird. Okay. Huh. Access code. God, there's garbage all over the place here today. All right, yeah. Okay, how about anybody else not getting into this? It's working? It didn't work yet? No shit. Okay. I want this to be, fail-proof. We'll figure it out. Okay, so anyway. I decided to go with a pull-down thing because that will hopefully create a spreadsheet at the end of it. I looked at the spreadsheet that it gave me on Friday, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to use that very easily, so I'm trying this method. Okay, we'll get it all figured out here. Let's move on. I have a few things that I want to wrap up before I begin. Anybody got any questions about anything for me today? I got no big announcements to make. It's week 7. I don't know what's going on this week. So let's do it. All right. I want to wrap up this chapter and get through the next chapter. I think I'll be able to get through a good beefy portion of the next chapter and finish it on Wednesday. And then I think I'll feel caught up. Because I just also noticed like, oh man, you guys like did the next chapter that I'm about to start covering. That was due last night. So I'm at that, I warned you that this was going to happen. Like you guys are going to be finished with material before I even start it. And that's kind of by design. I'm a day behind, that's all. I don't know how that happened. Poor planning. All right, so let's move. I'm going to cover parts of some research here, and then the second part of this same research project or the same team's research is going to be grayed out, as you'll see. And I think I told you guys about like slides that I have grayed out are going to be like it's not very, a very subtle cue to you, like you don't have to worry about this material. I wouldn't test you on these details. But the first part of this I want to talk about because it's something that kind of pops up. It's important and it's going to pop up. Related research is going to pop up here and there. So anyway, we're going to look at, this is one of the first times we're looking at something called binocular rivalry. And we're going to also see this in auditory rivalry as well. We'll see when we get to auditory chapters, we're going to revisit this sort of concept, all right? So in short, what this team did is they had subjects stare straight ahead at a monitor while wearing these sort of 3D, they're like 3D glasses in that they're colored, they project a face and a house on the screen simultaneously in red and in green, and the red and the green glasses filter out either the red image or the green image so that that eye won't see it. All right, so each eye, in this case, like this eye is only going to see the the face, and this eye's only going to see the house. And that's going to create binocular rivalry. Now this gets like, I can't remember if we covered this or not. I don't think we have, so I'm not going to go there. All right, so anyway, never mind. I was going to point out some little thing that might be confusing, but I don't think you'll be confused yet, so never mind, okay? So the net result is that the brain is going to be, remember the brain doesn't like ambiguity. The brain, when it can see two possible solutions to something that are equally plausible, what it winds up tending to do is just flipping back and forth between them. We saw that with some other illusions that, you can't unsee that. You just, you'll go back and once you see both versions of the ambiguous figure, the brain just kind of automatically flip-flops between them. And if you stare at it long enough, you'll probably get into a real set pattern, like every 3 seconds or 6 seconds or some, unique, time for you. So anyway, they do this and they present the face and the house, and so the brain's kind of simultaneously seeing one or the other, but it can't see both, okay? It won't see both blended together. It'll see one or the other. That's the rivalry. One kind of beats out the other. But then the brain's like, wait a minute, it's looking at the face and you'll see the face, and it's like, wait a minute, I see a house too, and then it'll suddenly see the house, and then it'll see the face and the house, okay? Well, they correlate this. They do this while somebody's also in an MRI, and they can measure activity. So it's just another demonstration that, evidence revealing, how this is happening, okay? The neural activity that's behind all this. And we've talked a lot about this already, that so-called fusiform face area will get really active while the person is reporting that they're seeing the face. One way or another, they indicate that they're seeing a face or a house, maybe by pressing a button or something or saying it out loud, but then the researchers can correlate that with the activity. And while it's seeing the face, the FFA lights up, and while it's seeing the house, a structure that I didn't yet mention called the parahippocampal areas, that swings around, you'll see it sort of, their para means around the hippocampus, all right? That area is one of the areas that's part of that pathway that identifying what objects are, okay? So, a house is a combination of an object and a scene, okay? So we saw last time that there's parts of that pathway that'll, do objects, broadly defined, including, and parts that do body parts, and then of course the FFA doing faces and parts of faces in particular, okay? And then there's other parts in that parahippocampal area that are processing scenes, okay? So like a picture of a house is both an object and a scene. So those two areas are kind of like, charged up. So this broad area lit up called the parahippocampal area. Okay, so neat, clever research, able to, really, non-invasively reveal what parts of the brain, you don't have to scoop out parts of the brain or look at damage or, this is a really clever way to like pinpoint what's active. And of course, the activity again correlates perfectly with the flip-flop between the person's perception, okay? Now, yeah, it's just clever. Okay, grayed out stuff, so the rest of the research I'm not gonna, don't worry about these contexts. And then more, this, we'll skip that. We'll skip that. Regrettably, I'll skip this, but this is just more abstract versions of pretty much the same thing, okay? Instead of looking at objects like faces and houses, they're looking at gradings, and we'll skip that, okay? This stuff is really, I don't know why, I kind of like, I shouldn't have maybe graded this out, because this is more cutting edge and really cool stuff, though. So this is, relates to a new concept that we call neural mind reading, okay? So, research like this and lots of other studies are correlating. We can now begin to see, like through a functional fMRI and some other, PET scans or diffuser tensor imaging and other ways that we can image what the brain is doing, and we can begin to like read a mind by reading the scans. Okay, we can begin to and I just like if you were like a researcher could watch the activity live, while the person's in the MRI having faces and houses scanned, And without knowing themselves which image is being projected, they could very reliably tell you, they're looking at a face right now because the FFA's lighting up. They're looking at the house right now because, so we're beginning, I say we, like I'm doing this research, we're beginning to understand or use this like neural imaging to read minds, okay? So regrettably, I'm not gonna hold you to this. So I will kind of mention it though. So, this could be like the target image that they learned, that they viewed ahead of time, either one of these two images. And then, then they can present other images, and then based on some of the, the neural activity that you're watching on the functional fMRI or whatever technology you're using, they can begin to predict which of these images is being shown, okay? You can kind of see, like, look at this scene. This scene is different, but it kind of has a lot of the characteristics of the target image. This one has only a few, like just the arc, there's like an arc of things here, something in the foreground. Anyway, this looks very similar to the target image. So, when they're showing this, like this will have the most neural activity related to the neural activity that's present when they're looking at the target image. This one will have the second most activity. And this one will have, this one only captures just a little bit of the essence of the target, and the same with these down here. Okay? So, clever stuff. I should have covered it in more detail than that. All right. Not grayed out area. Back to real life again here. We've been, we dip in and out of coverage of faces, and we're going to keep doing that because faces are huge for us, human primates. So our face is special, and we already know they are. And so this is a clever study that just looked at, they're probably looking at, you could do this with, by looking at activity in the FFA, but it just really is this is just an auditory answer. Like they just say, they just report what they see. Images are flashed very briefly, okay? So they're either cars or their faces, and the faces you see are very trimmed down to, get rid of any other content, just the oval part of the face. And they're either presented right side up or upside down, okay? And they're just measuring the percentage of correct responses. Does a person detect what it is correctly? And this is, for those of you that took stats already, this is a graphic example of what we call an interaction, okay? An interaction, I got to do, I have a long history of teaching statistics, so I got to bring it in whenever I can. So an interaction is kind of a complex concept, and so, it's very vaguely defined as a difference in the differences, okay? When there's a difference in the differences. And to me, the best way to see an interaction is to graph it, okay? What does that mean, a difference in the differences? Here's a difference between upright and inverted images, and here's a difference between upright and inverted images. So that's a difference that differs from this difference, okay? That's the mark of an interaction, okay? What does the interaction mean? It means that faces are something special, okay? When they're cars are not super special. They might be very special to some of us, and some people are really into cars, but your brain we haven't had time to evolve any changes in our brain with the advent of cars, okay? Evolution works a lot slower than the development of automobiles has. So your brain has not had a chance yet to evolve any specialization to cars, all right? So a car, to your brain, is no different right side up or upside down. You can identify it just as readily either way, okay? So there's no difference between upright and inverted. But faces are important. It's been a long time since we fell out of the trees and hung upside down from tails that we no longer have. We're upright, we're vertical, and we see things right side up. And so when we see something and we don't see people upside down, we don't look at other people who are hanging upside down, or we're hanging upside down looking at upright people, okay? We're looking upright at upright people, okay? And so there's a big difference in correctly identifying a face when it's upright compared to when it's not upright, okay? So that's just another demonstration of the importance biologically, neurologically, of faces. They just differ than other objects. Okay. Here's another opportunity to scan if you walked in late or something. I'm going to probably start working that scan in there so you can watch for it if you missed it when you came in, or if you want to try it again, or anyway. Anyway. All right, so this study, not only are faces important, but eyes and mouths are super important. So this image is really shitty on the screen here, and it's of a person that none of you know anymore or ever knew. This is Newt Gingrich, who was Speaker of the House, during the Clinton era, okay? So he was famous back then as the arch enemy of Bill Clinton. And this is a, photographic negative of his face, all right? So, and this isn't just, this could be any face. Doesn't have to, it just happens to be fucking Newt Gingrich. All right, so when a face is in full photographic negative, your ability to recognize that, is poor. We didn't evolve to look at photographic negatives, okay? We haven't had time for a brain to, learn how to respond to photographic, negatives, okay? So that screws up a face. The face is right there, just as, it's just negative, all right? So it drops down to just over 50% recognition when a famous face or a known face, famous or not, is inverted in that way. All right? This is a bad image, you can't tell, but this one, the whole thing is negative except for the eyes. The eyes are now like a normal positive, okay? And look what happens to recognition. It jumps up to just nearly, not significantly different and better as a full positive, okay? So not only are faces important, but eyes. Okay, now that helps you make sense of all the superheroes whose disguises have something to do with, masks over their eyes, right? Good guys or bad guys, robbers. You just got to put on something over your eyes, and and your recognition goes down. Okay, Ironically, Superman is the only one that I can think of his disguise is when he's like normal. Clark Kent is the one that's disguised. Put on a pair of glasses and nobody recognizes Superman anymore because his eyes are weirder, okay, and obscured. All right. So yeah, faces are special. And why is there a shark swimming around? At the time I did this, I was like, I learned how to do that and I thought that was fun. So there it is. So we looked at all these places here. So fusiform face area. Now it's called the fusiform gyrus. I guess that's our first use of that whole term. Okay, that area, usually we call it the FFA there. It's referring to the whole gyrus. We talked about the amygdala and how it's important for adding, emotional content to images, especially faces. All right? Loved, hated, feared, respected, whatever, it adds in a proper emotional valence, if there is any, and to it, all right? I should have started here. Obviously, vision begins in the occipital cortex and flows to these areas, all right? We talked about that temporal, that temporal pathway and all the different areas in there that are processing objects and parts of bodies and scenes and so on. And then the frontal cortex, where kind of memory and human decisions and all this, all the good stuff all that flows up there and, allows us to talk about what we're looking at and consciously process what we're looking at and so on. And non-consciously, not everything has to be conscious. But the frontal cortex is involved with both conscious and unconscious stuff. Okay. Every chapter from here on kind of often ends with developmental studies and whatnot. Something's got to go. As interesting as all that is I can't think of a time when I cover it. So I'm going to skip. Probably always going to skip testing. Content from the developmental chapter. Something's got to give, and that's maybe not a wise decision, but that's my decision. Okay. Breathlessly finishing one chapter. Let's go to the next. Yet another opportunity to scan in all right, so now we're turning our attention to visual attention, all right? So how does that happen? What does it add? What does visual attention mean, and what are the benefits, and how is it driven, okay? So I'm going to start with this fun example of first of all, I mean, what does it mean to it? What is attention? Okay, maybe it doesn't need much of it's what you're attending to. Okay, and we humans we seem to have the ability to do it consciously. We can, like, I can say, hey, look at the screen right now, and and if you were paying attention and heard that directive, you're now paying attention to the screen. Okay, so you can consciously, change your fixation and change your attention. Okay, so we're going to talk about what grabs your attention. Sometimes it's not cognitive. I would argue most of the time it's not cognitive. Your noggin is attending to things whether it pops into your awareness or consciousness or not. All right, and we're gonna look at that. So, love him or hate him, this is Patrick Mahomes, who's got this. He's a great quarterback, and he can target a receiver without giving it away. When a quarterback is looking at somebody, everybody, the defenders, everybody can see. He's probably going to throw to that guy. He's looking at him, so he can trick teams by looking this way and throwing that way. Okay, so this is just him explaining that and demonstrating it. And I turned the volume all the way off. Sorry.
With the safety sitting right there. I sent my man Dieter.
Start over, sorry.
First off, I sent my man Dieter the wrong way. So he was supposed to motion this way. I brought him all the way back over here and motioned him that way. So we had 4 guys on the right side of the field. And Travis Kelce was right here. So as I dropped back from the snap, I peeked this side, knowing that I'm thinking Trav one-on-one on his route. And so I look over to Trav, they've double covered him. And so I kind of like step up. There's a rush coming. I step up here. And I step up here, and I just see Demarcus Robinson streaking across the field with the safety sitting right there. And so instead of looking at D-Rob, I was kind of giving him a look over here, and then I just
boom,
hit him right there, right on where the trash can was. And so instead of looking at him, I just put it out there. D-Rob made a great play, and it was.
All right, if you're like me, and again, God help you, I couldn't understand hardly a word of that. But am I the only one? So the explanation was verbal, but it's unimportant. He just basically is explaining how, like, hey, I don't have to look at the receiver. I can just, I can target anybody. Just like your brain you have that capacity too. I mean, he's obviously practiced it with a football. He can do it really well. But as you're going to see, you do, the difference between what we call overt attention, like what you are deliberately looking at. And you do this sometimes, like you've done this in your life where you like you're trying to maybe have a conversation with someone, give them the eye contact, but you're totally paying attention to what's going on behind them, okay? And you want to be respectful and not like just obviously watch, like not pay attention. But so right, you've all done that, right? Okay. I have a student that I liked from a million years ago, and what really struck me about her was like her eyes just were fixated on me, and like anytime I'm lecturing, she just looked like she was just riveted to what I was doing and saying, and that, by the way, is not a bad thing to do. All right. Some of you do that, and I kind of tend to look at you a lot, okay? If you find it's because you're looking at me, and that's what we do. When people are paying attention, we look at them. You guys, some of you are really good at that, okay? And this woman was really, like, and I remember commenting, that she wasn't doing, like as the semester went on, I noticed she wasn't doing very well. And so I remember having a conversation with her, and I was kind of trying to like figure out why she was struggling. And I made the comment, I'm like, it's not, and your problem doesn't seem to be during class. You're there. I see you every day. You're always there, and you're always paying attention. You're just locked on me. And she was like, oh God, people tell me that all the time. I'm just like, I don't know how I gotta admit, I'm just totally not paying attention. So she still made a good impression on me. She kind of blew it by admitting that, but anyway. So anyway, that's called overt attention, but she was somehow giving what looked like overt attention, but her covert attention was totally winning. Okay, enough about that. Next slide, please. All right, so I just got done talking about, visual rivalry, binocular rivalry. So this is going to be kind of similar, okay? So we're talking about vision still to death, but here's an auditory example. So kind of similar to the binocular rivalry. So this is called dichotic listening. So you can put headphones on people and have something go to just the left ear or the right ear, all right? And so, you can have two different streams of conversation going in each ear. And you've all, if you haven't experienced that on headphones, you've experienced that in real life, like when, two or more sets of people are talking and, there's two or more conversations going on. And, you're maybe trying intently to focus in on one and getting, find yourself being distracted by the other. But, or for whatever reason, sometimes you just drift back and forth. Now suddenly you're, listening in on this other conversation, or something grabs your attention, consciously or not, and you suddenly are now listening to that conversation and not listening to this one anymore. All right? So anyway, presenting, two conflicting streams of conversation into the two ears, we can engage in selective attention. You could say, hey, look, I want you to, you're going to be quizzed on details from what's coming into your right ear, so do your best to pay attention to that, all right? And so, with whatever motivation or reason to do so, you can sort of force yourself to, ignore one whole stream of information coming in, all right? So this is related to something that's classically called the cocktail party, which I don't know if you've ever been to or will ever go to a cocktail party, but any kind of situation where there's all kinds of conversations like I described, and you're just, you're just automatically filtering out most of them if you're attending to one. And then certain things can just, grab your attention. Like your name is one of those. So just suddenly if you hear your name, like someone's talking about me, that can just jank you right out of the conversation you were totally paying attention to, maybe even talking in, and like, wait, someone's talking about me, okay? That's the cocktail party effect. All right. Okay, so this is maybe a dumb question, but sometimes we ask basic questions and then research them. What are the benefits of this attention? We obviously know there's lots of benefits, okay? So this little classic study just can point out, one of the benefits of attention, okay? So, observers are looking at the holy cross of cognitive psychology in a screen, fixated on the cross in the center, and they're told to respond as quickly as they can to where a target square is going to appear, okay? And so that's just the little simple task. Hey, just respond as quickly and as accurately as you can to which one of the four quadrants the stimulus is going to appear in, okay? While just fixating straight ahead, all right? And everything's just flashed briefly, all right? So if they're presented with a, really not subtle cue, like an arrow for a fraction of a second pointing to like where the thing is gonna appear, guess what? That serves to speed them up and make them accurate, okay? And of course, if it's incorrectly pointing, if it's pointing to an area that is not gonna be where the stimulus is, not only, that speed benefit doesn't just disappear, it gets slowed down. The brain is like, wait, what? Ooh, basically the benefits of attention are good when they serve the purpose, and they can be, detrimental when they're wrong. Okay? All right. And there it is, just in a needless graph, okay? So reaction time, this is just reaction time, but you could also measure accuracy, all right? So, if it's validly pointing to the right area, it's significantly faster reaction time than when it's pointing to the wrong direction. Okay. Here's another riveting study. Like you do this with a person who's got half of their skull removed, so you can look at the brain. No, just anyway. So they're doing a really exciting task. This isn't a research project. We're just using this as an example. Just imagine you're sitting there watching an inclined plank, and you're watching a ball roll down it. Okay? most riveting thing you're going to see that day, for sure, okay? So you just watch a ball roll down. What's going on there, okay? As we're now beginning to learn, all kinds of different zones are processing pieces of that simple set of images, all right? You know, we got location areas that are, you know, knowing where the ball is, seeing where it goes, predicting where it's going to go, all right? We've got, it's not labeled on here, we got another pathway telling us, hey, that's a ball, all right? You know, so, you know, we know its location, we know its name. We got areas that process information about the depth. You know, here it's, you know, it's near, it's far, it's whatever. You know, we get depth information. We got separate areas that process information about movement. A separate area, if it's a red ball, that's identifying and processing information about the color. Different areas that are processing form, and then even like, you know, and then neurons that are processing like the different edges that are present on the shape of like a ball, okay? Edge detectors and on and on and on. So attention is helping us with this mysterious binding process. So somehow all of that, and this is just a handful of the things I could identify in that one little simple process, that visual demonstration. Somewhere, somehow, this all comes back together. It all gets bound back together, and we can talk about the ball. We can talk about how fast it's moving, where it's going, how many times we've watched it. It all gets bound. How is that done? We haven't a clue. So there's still room for you to do research in sensation and perception. That's the holy grail. That's really associated with consciousness. What is consciousness? How does that, you know, what's involved with that? What is it? What is it used for? Where is it done by the brain? You know, how does visual information get rebound back together after being ripped apart into all of those, you know, minute details, all right? So, you know, this isn't an answer, but feature integration theory is like a theory that's like taking a baby step to trying to answer that, okay? Somehow the features get integrated, and that doesn't sound like a very good explanation to me. That just sounds like another name for binding, okay? Watch out for theories that just rename the thing that you're sort of trying to define, okay? Like, how is binding done? Through a process called feature integration. That's just another fucking name for it gets bound back together somehow, okay? So what is this feature integration theory, this fit, okay? They break it up into a pre-attentive stage, a focused attention stage, and then the part we haven't got a clue of, the binding, okay? So the pre-attentive stage is basically everything we've covered so far in 7 weeks. All the little details that we've been shredding apart. And now we've been talking, you know, this chapter we're looking at attention as a step towards binding, okay? So just because we don't understand what binding means or is or maybe ever will doesn't mean we're not interested in it, okay? And we will continue to seek out the mystery, the $1 trillion question. All right. So, you know, all the raw details are part of the pre-attentive stage, and then the focused attention, the features get combined. Where and how, we don't know, and it comes together holistically and consciously. All right, so that doesn't stop us from researching things. So here's an example of some images that can be presented simultaneously on a screen, and you can give people different tasks to do, like, right, you got, excuse me, you know, we got four shapes with different, you know, colors and features, and then 2 numbers, all right? And then we're gonna flash that very briefly, followed by a mask. Again, you know what a mask is now, something that disrupts the sensory memory so it doesn't stick in the brain slightly longer. So, you know, maybe you're presenting this for 200 milliseconds or something really brief, and then, you know, a gray image or something to, you know, wash clean the memory of what you just saw, all right? And you can give them different tasks, like tell us to report which numbers you saw first. You give them, you know, 2 divided attention tasks, like tell me what numbers you saw, and then what were the shapes and what were the four shapes and where were they? Okay? Or you could say, what colors did you see? Or what was, you can combine, two tasks, okay? There's lots of different combinations you could do. Basically give them two divided attention tasks to do. And somehow, all those details are shredded apart, and then they start to come together, but then the binding kind of can get disrupted, all right? So we call those illusory conjunctions. So again, the numbers might be the easiest part, like I saw a 1 and an 8, but they'll start, they'll say, I think I saw they might mismatch these, okay? I saw a circle, I think it was blue, okay? They saw something blue, they saw a circle, and they might illusory combine them together. I saw a hollow circle, and I think it was red, okay? They might combine, the redness and anyway. So you could also do this with words. It doesn't have to be shapes, okay? So a classic example could be like they have different words, and they've got to remember which words they saw. And so maybe there might be several words on the screen, and they saw one of them was toothpaste, and another one was headache, and the illusory combination is like, I think I saw the word toothache. Okay? You can very easily see how that might happen. Okay. So these incorrect associations happen, they pop up very frequently, 18% of the time in this particular study. All right? But asking observers to focus on the target areas more closely eliminates this effect, okay? So if you really, can get rid of the divided attention, okay? It's like, don't worry about the numbers, just tell me which words you saw, or don't tell me which shapes you saw, and where again, if you're fixated on one thing, you'll get those things. But when you're divided, your attention's divided, you're gonna mess it up. All right, your book talks a little bit about this theory and the process of visual search. Let me see if I can get rid of this little catch I got. So they talk about something called balance syndrome, which people with particular areas of parietal lobe damage will show a deficit in this ability to do visual search. And when I think of visual search, I think of Where's Waldo? Okay, you all know about Waldo, right? Okay, so whole book's full of busy images where you got to find this dude. Okay, so this is going to look very similar to that. So there's a patient RM who has balance syndrome, and so damage somewhere in the parietal lobe. So right, the where and the how pathway. The where, where's Waldo? He's going to have a hard time finding, fixating on, just doing what you and I would do pretty, if we don't have balance syndrome, we can do this pretty easily. It's like this top task is a very simple task. Like, you flash it very quickly, and or whatever. I mean, you measure how quickly it takes a person to point to the thing you're asking them to find. So where's the green horizontal? It's very salient there. It's the only one amongst all verticals, so that one pops up, for you and I very quickly, all right? Now it gets a little harder. Where's the horizontal green line here? It's like, you and I can find it, probably, all right? But it's you're distracted by a whole bunch of horizontal red lines and a bunch of vertical green lines. So patient HM is just completely unable to do that bottom one, all right? So that, helps identify, something about the parietal lobe is important for where stuff is, okay? They have no trouble, they know what a green horizontal line is. That pathway, the temporal pathway is intact, but something's messed up in the parietal cortex, okay? So the feature integration theory, what's that got to do with that? The features just are not getting reintegrated. Okay, so for a where visual task, this area is a key ingredient. It's one step toward, it's a baby step towards identifying how's this bound together. Well, you got to have the regions that are processing the features need to come together. There needs to be attention. It needs to not be divided. It needs to be, all of it needs to coalesce somehow. It needs to get bound. Well, where is that done? I don't know. We don't know yet, okay? All right. So, how do we do these kinds of tasks? We look around we look around the world. We look around the screen if it's a screen task. So, your eyes are naturally, moving around this scene right now. If I were to say, like, I don't know, is there any particular bird in there that sort of does grab your attention? And it might be because they're different somehow, okay? So the different ones probably, like this one is like the most different looking to me, right? This one jumps out at me, all right? We're seeing like it's brown feathers on its back, and a few others have them, okay? This one jumps out at me. It's like, hey, is that bird dead or what? Okay, that was the only one that seems about the only one that's like awkwardly laying down. There's other ones laying down, okay? But that one grabs my attention because it's a little more gray, and it's like, wait, is that one alive? This one grabs my attention. Okay, so stuff like that, we scan the world whether we're looking for something in particular or not. So we're gonna see what attention has to do with this scanning process. So you can hook people up these days with eye tracking gizmos that can show exactly where they're looking, okay? So if you were looking at this scene, you might do what this person did. No, you didn't, there was no task, just you got the tracking system on their face, and it's recording where they're looking at an image, okay? And look where they go. Where are most of the, where are the eyes landing most regularly? Okay? Notice, like, people. They're statues, but we wow, people, that's just, they weren't asked, hey, look at the sculpture. They're just, no instructions. Just look at this image. And, for the first set of movements, if they continue to scan, they might go and look at the whole thing, but this is where they initially looked. And I bet you would do the same because, people. And look, a lot of them land on faces, right? A lot of the statues, there's a, like, boom. Who is this person supposed to be? Who is this person supposed to be? Hey, there's people up there too. Like, they're not looking at this window or that building or, other stuff until later. Okay. So we scan screens. So back to we are the world. Okay. So here, this is, time is just marching on, and 25 years after We Are the World, whenever 25 years later was, they did it again. All right, so they gathered up the then current celebrities, and now it's been too many years, you don't know these celebrities anymore in this example. So it's asking you where Jennifer Hudson, Pink, and Robin Thicke are. And how many of you know those three singers? Okay, and I bet Robin Thicke is the least recognized one anymore, right? Okay, so at the time he was a big name. Jennifer Hudson, Pink's still cool and big and around, so I hope, Anyway, can your eyes are scanning around this, image right now. How many of you have found any of them? Have any of you found any of them? Have any of you found all three of them? I'll give you here. In case you don't know who that's Jennifer Hudson at the event. There's Pink at the event, and there's Robin Thicke. So now with that benefit of okay, now I at least know who they are and what they were wearing. Context also helps when you're scanning, okay? So I'll give it away. Oh, most importantly, where's Snoop Dogg? Snoop Dogg's in there. That's what Snoop looks like on that day. All right, there's Jennifer Hudson. There's Pink. And once you see them, it's like, oh yeah, right? Your brain is like, oh yeah. Now Robin Thicke, I think that's Robin Thicke. That's the no? You're saying no?
Very back.
He's in the very back? This guy?
Right next to him.
This guy?
No, to the left.
This guy?
That's Robin Thicke.
That's Robin Thicke? I can't, yeah, you know, I mean, I can't see like what he's wearing. I just, for process of elimination, I was like, I don't know, this guy must, so I don't know either. I don't know. I'm just gonna, who cares who Robin Thicke is and where he is, right? All right, where's Snoop Dogg, most importantly? There's Snoop all the way in the back. All right, all right. And I got a link to the song and the video if you want to watch it, so we won't do that. So, everything.
Come in tonight for Longhorns.
Sorry, we already listened to the song. So, all right. I asked you when I was showing the video where Dan, you know, how many of you know who Dan Aykroyd even is? He was on SNL, Blues Brothers, the original Ghostbusters. Okay. Dan Aykroyd is in there somewhere. He's not a singer, so the question is like, why was he even there if he's not even a singer? And Billy Joel, you know, I hope you know. Anyway, where's Billy Joel? There's Billy Joel. There's Dan Aykroyd all the way in the back, okay? So anyway. All right, one last thing. Wait, that clock's way off. I still got a few minutes. Okay, never mind. It's not 10:30. All right, do you notice anything in this? Does anything not belong in this? This is a classic, you know, thing it makes its rounds on the internet. How many of you have seen this before? Okay, so a few of you have seen it before. You already know what's going on here, but scan around this image and do you see anything unusual? How many of you, don't give it away, don't reveal what it is, but how many of you see something unusual? Okay? Let me give you a big hint. How about a face? How many of you see a face? How many of you saw it right away? How many of you still don't see a face? Now, faces are supposed to be like just popping out at us, okay? I'm gonna show you the faces. If you haven't seen it yet, you're gonna be like, wow, how did I miss that? Creepy, okay? All right. So, anyway, it begs the question, like if you didn't find it, and some people look at this for a long time, it took me a long time to find it. I can't remember, it's been so many years. I don't remember if I had to have it pointed out to me or if I don't know. I mean, it's just an odd thing that faces are supposed to be so riveting, and yet, like, what is it about it that just, yeah, I don't know. So, I didn't know what to look for. At first, I just maybe thought, like, some of those beans just kind of happened to look like a face. That's what I was looking for. I was scanning around looking for a collection of beans that might have resembled a face, not thinking that there was an actual face in there, partly obscured. Okay. One last attempt to scan in if you didn't do it yet. So anyway, with that eye tracking stuff, you know, we can measure this, like what does grab your eyes, okay? So if when you looked at this image, I almost can guarantee that you went right for the guy in the red shirt, okay? Very salient, very standoutish, you know, like one person just didn't get the memo about what to wear that day at what looks like a tennis match to me, okay? All right, so visual salience is something that grabs your attention. We just got done talking about humans and faces in particular, you know, grab your attention. But like here, it's just a whole bunch of faces. So, you know, yeah, left alone, you'd be probably looking around there. Hey, is anybody famous in there maybe? You know, whatever. You'd start looking at the faces. Anyway, okay. So that's the process, you know, what does direct our attention, attentional capture. So what are the things that do, you know, grab your attention? Why and how do they grab? So I'm going to show you an image here. So what is the orientation of the line in the green circle? Ready? How many of you got it wrong? Because you went boom to the red diamond. Okay, didn't ask you anything about the red diamond, so your eyes went there first, then it took a while to find the green circle. Even though you had green circle in your brain, like I'm looking for the green circle, wham, red diamond grabbed your attention, didn't it? Okay. we talked about this study. So what grabs your attention? Things that fit, things that don't fit, schemas, all right? Every time you're walking, all day long, you're using schemas when you can. Every once in a while, your day involves something that you don't have a schema for, and what do you do then? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think here. I don't know what to look at. I don't know what to do next, okay? By week 7 of a semester, you probably have a very set routine with a whole bunch of schemas that are helping you, helping your day just kind of flow, all right? So you might wind up somewhere today where it's like, ooh, new schema. What do I do here? What do I look at? So anyway, right? Fixations matter. This is a kitchen scene, and what should maybe pop out at, what is that, a pot? Yeah, a pot on a stove, totally fits the schema. Probably not going to grab your attention, but anyway, like someone put their printer on top of their oven, okay? So that's maybe a unusual place to find a printer. So maybe your eyes would be like, wait, what's that? Okay? I'm out of time now. So we'll talk next time about cognitive factors. Okay, thanks for being here today. Hope you had a good weekend, by the way. I forgot to ask that. See you on Wednesday. What it's going to be, 60s on Wednesday? Hell yeah, winter's over. No more